Anyway, we have one other good movie to talk about really quickly. The Woman King, directed by Gina Price Blythewood, directed The Old Guard, among a few other movies. Viola Davis, Lashana Lynch, John Boyega, among others. It's the story of the Agoji, an all-female unit of warriors who protected the African kingdom of Dahomey in 1800s with skills and fierceness unlike anything the world has ever seen. And General Naniska, she trains the next generation of recruits and readies them for battle against an enemy determined to destroy their way of life. This is like now again the third movie focused around women that we will be talking about for tonight, and this I think is the second best after Pearl. I thought this movie, you watch the trailer for it and you're like, oh, this is going to be some movie with zero subtlety that's just going to be like hey, shoving like this messaging right into your face with no like fucking remorse, and like that's it, and we want Hollywood brown points or rather brownie points.
I think that was very purposeful. Now looking back on the marketing to make it look, I mean, let's use the word, they were trying to make it look like a very woke movie.
Yes.
They wanted people to say that. I think they wanted the trailer to get some secondhand marketing off of reactions.
But like that's not the type of movie it is, I think, at all. Not. It's really, really not. It's just a really solid at its core, a really good action drama that kind of combines, I think, like both in the action drama combo, it combines like both of those things really, really well. And like sometimes you'll have one where it's like, hey, super, super action heavy, drama's okay, or inverse. This, I think, did both of those elements super, super well. Yeah. Viola Davis, obviously awesome in everything she does. This is no exception. But I think Lashana Lynch specifically dominated this movie. Every scene she was on.
Fucking presence.
Dude, every time she's on camera, she absolutely crushed it.
Wow.
You didn't like her?
I'll keep going.
But okay, so I think anytime she was on screen, she's just like the physicality of her, like just dominated that sense where it's like you feel like almost like the high school bully level of her, and like and the dramatic scenes, I think she crushed as well. This is one where I also love the set pieces. Like a lot of like you feel like you're in these places. You feel like you're there. You don't feel like you're in some green screen in Atlanta or whatever. You feel like you're in those spots. I think they did really, really good job of like, kind of using maybe inventive camera work and like some on location spots to make you feel that. And like that's world building, man. Like in historical documentaries or historical shows like or movies, they don't really do that a lot. I feel like, and especially the bad ones, but did it really, really well. I think out of all these, maybe the only complaint, like bigger one I have, I guess, is like I wanted a little more Boyega, even though he's not the star of this movie. But I was like, you advertise John Boyega, he's like kind of like a leading man in my brain, where I'm like, he's going to be a bigger focus. He has like 5 lines in the movie, but like at the same time, like if he wanted to do it and he was okay with taking that small role, that's cool. I just expected him to be a bigger part of it, even though. Yeah. But again, it's like it's the Woman King. It's not about fucking him. It's about the other people involved. A lot of really good stuff to come from this one. One I would recommend anybody. I know there's backlash from the Twitter historian crews going fucking ballistic.
Actually, Dahomey was slave traders.
They were slave traders, and they didn't do this, and they didn't do that. Like, spare me the fucking performative tears crying about Dahomey, someplace you definitely never heard about until you watch some TikTok about how this was historically inaccurate. Shut the fuck up about that sort of stuff. Ridiculous, dude. But yeah, anyway. I thought it was a good ass movie, fun time, good drama, good tears, good action. Combined a lot of those things in a great way. Chris, what'd you think?
I think it's impossible to call this a bad movie. Mm-hmm. Like I just think it's so, it's almost the inverse of what we talked about with Blonde, where I think it's so important to discuss director's intent, and it's like the passion behind this project is so apparent, and everyone is taking themselves so seriously. I mean, like. Viola Davis, I feel like I praise and or criticize actors all the time in the show. Viola Davis is in like the top 1% of best actors or actresses working. I mean, she's so intense in this. And again, you can tell, like, I mean this as a compliment. This movie doesn't crack a fucking smile. Like, it is so intense with its intentions. I think that it gets a little bit scatterbrained at points where there's you get the action, and then in right around maybe the halfway point, maybe about 40% in, all of a sudden it becomes this family drama. So I think that they could have streamlined the narrative a little bit tighter. Boyega is good. I thought the nighttime action sequences were a little bit lackluster to me. And that's an issue I've always had with a lot of movies, is that's a difficult thing to do. And that's why for me, going forward, I pull a Jordan Peele and just do day for night. Like even if it doesn't look completely realistic, I think the possibility of those sequences looking just clearer and less murky, I think are more likely with something like Day for Night. So it's not like this is not a movie that was really made for me, but I appreciate everything that it did and tried to do. You bring up Lashana Lynch because the reason I was laughing is because I have a friend of mine who has been adamant for years that she sucks. Like he's just said, like
where would that even come from? Like,
Yeah,
where is he? What is he watching her in?
I know where it came from. It came from the fact that he hates, and we should have him on the show at some point. He's great. He hates when certain actors are presented as the next big thing.
Okay.
Where like I remember when we came out of Captain Marvel, a movie I did not like, a bunch of people were like, yeah, that girl, that Lashana Lynch, she was great. And nah, she's just all right, I guess. I did not like her in the Bond movie either. And so
See, I did like her in Bond.
You see, I thought she was. I didn't think her performance was necessarily bad. I just thought that her character really did nothing for me. She's better in this than she's been in anything else I'd seen her. But that's the reason I was laughing is not me saying, "Oh man, Lashana Lynch totally stinks." No, she is good in this, and I give the film credit for giving her character a legitimate arc and even a tragic arc. So yeah, it's a strange one because I don't view it as particularly memorable. But it's a movie that I think, for the most part, hits so many of the beats that it was trying to hit. And for that, it does deserve credit.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Gooch?
I echo a lot of what you guys said. I do agree. And Chris, if I had to take points away from the movie, and I don't want to do too much, but I think it gets off track at points. I think the romance subplot, the introduction of the character from Chile.
Wait, which character?
His mother was from Dahomey and his father was white.
Oh yeah. The Portuguese or Brazilian guy.
Yeah. I think that whole subplot could have gone.
Yes, agreed.
I'm not sure we need it. I do understand the point they're trying to make, although it's not a point I can really identify with, is like being in touch with your roots, understanding where your family comes from. I understand what the point they're trying to make there, but I think it just bloated the movie a little bit towards the middle. Outside of that, though, I do think Lashana Lynch, she's very reminiscent for me, at least, of like Charlize Theron. Like where she's just such a physical presence on screen. I need to see her in more action stuff. She kind of can just dominate a scene, and it doesn't look ridiculous, which is something a lot of people will complain about when you have a smaller petite actress like a Scarlett Johansson swinging around and taking people down. Whereas like Charlize Theron, she's doing action sequences. It looks very real because she is so tall and imposing. I think Lashana Lynch can pull that same kind of the same sequences and that same presence off. Lashana Lynch, obviously, also very, very beautiful. I mean, model level beauty.
That scene where she they do the spear thing, which they showed in the trailer, that was awesome.
When they're
like so cool.
To each other, that's fucking insane. That was some Roman war stuff. That was sweet. I mean, it's just a great. I agree with you, Chris. Like, it's not a movie anyone I think has any right calling bad. Even if you didn't enjoy it, like. It's just too well made, well acted. It's a good movie. I'm going 80 out of 100 for it.
Yep, 80 out of 100. I have an 86. What would you have it at, Chris? Chris, if you had to pick one.
Chris, are you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys cut out for a second. Can you say that one more time?
I'm going with 86. Gooch has 80. What do you have it at?
It's somewhere in the 70s. You know, I do enjoy them, like a 73, something like that.
So
I do enjoy.
Chris is the most racist and misogynistic here.
Well, but that's nothing new. I mean, that's been acknowledged. I think that's been known.
I will say Lashana Lynch was also the most physically like she was jacked. Like Viola Davis, she's like 50 something. So
she's big, but she carries it well. It doesn't look goofy.
No,
like she looks
more strong than fucking She-Hulk does.
That's her frame. You know what I mean? Like that's just her frame. Like she's just a big woman.
But that's what's cool about it, dude. She was like just destroying those dudes, and it's believable because she just is so jacked. And like they do a good job of casting throughout that movie. Like all of the Agoji, like they were all like pretty strong and like athletic and doing all these weird flips and kicks and shit. Like I think it looked really cool, especially. You mentioned the nighttime fight sequences. I agree with you; they weren't as strong, but like the daytime fight, like where they do the ambush of the camp or whatever, was sick.
That was badass. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Actually, though, that does bring up. I'm glad you brought. That's the biggest complaint I have with this movie, and ironically, we talked about it earlier. It's PG-13. There's a lot of really brutal moments in this movie where I think it was necessary to see the violence.
Yeah.
And they shied away from it way too much. And so for that reason, despite the fact that the film is remarkably sincere, there are these instances in which you're like, man, God, this feels this feels like it could be just that much more brutal and make it more effective, because there's some really fucked up shit that happens in this movie. And you don't really feel the impact of that because of the lack of violence.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel like it definitely would have been elevated by more of an R rating. I also think, like you're saying, as far as the scatterbrain stuff, it did apply to stuff like, if I could axe that subplot with the Brazilian guy, I probably would. If I could axe the other sort of minor subplot with the wife that hates.
Yeah, I never really understood what the fuck was going on there.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would axe.
I didn't know what was happening there.
Yeah.
Maybe I looked away for a second and just missed it, but I was kind of confused. Like, so there's two kings and...
Oh, you mean like the ending of it? Yeah.
Well, no, like just like kind of her political power playing throughout the movie.
I was. I'm glad you brought that up. I was confused by the dynamic in general. Like, no, I'm with you.
Outside of that, I think the biggest pluses for this, again, action and drama were both great. And I think more than anything else, world building in this was such a huge key, and I think they did a phenomenal job of that. Great set pieces, great action. Also, Hero Fiennes, right? Who played the Portuguese main bad guy, I guess you would call him.
Wait, is that Ralph Fiennes' son?
It's, I believe, Ray Fiennes' nephew.
Fiennes.
Yeah. Not Joseph Fiennes' son, but another one. It's basically Cooper Manning's kid, more or less. Basically, he's what's Cooper's kid?
He's Arch Manning.
Yeah, he's Arch Manning.
Archie
basically.
Manning.
Yeah,
the youngest one, not the old dead.
Yeah, I don't even know. That was him, right? I'm not going crazy. I'm gonna make sure.
I know you're talking about the French guy, right?
Well, he was Portuguese. These guys.
See, I don't know anything about these European ethnicities.
Hero Fiennes Tiffin. I don't know how he spoke Portuguese, but his Portuguese sounded. I mean, I don't know how to speak Portuguese, but it sounded legitimate, whatever, from a very non-professional ear.
My name is Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. Other than that, I think all the other actors and actresses are pretty damn solid. And it's weird. Like, I want to see more movies like this. If I can make that that's one big takeaway. Like, I would love to see more historical, I guess, fiction movies where it's like they bring you in a world you don't know about. Like, in something like in a world where it's not in your average history book, like a Julius Caesar or some shit. Like, go somewhere where we're not familiar and tell a historical drama there and do it well, like this movie did. Yep. If that makes sense, because there's a lot of stories like that. But yeah, so that's our 3 reviews for today. Blonde sucks fucking ass.
Don't watch Blonde.
Don't watch Blonde.
Yeah,
it's not even worth the hate watch.
Yep.
That's why I brought it. I did want to preach that, where it's like, there are certain movies that you're going to see throughout a year that are so bad you almost recommend them just as a once in a lifetime thing. This ain't the fucking room. Like, really do avoid it. Yes. And that's what sucks is that it went nuts on Netflix. It was the #1 movie on Netflix this week. Primarily that was
we
something
know why.
That was something I didn't bring up in the review. I think Andrew Dominic went out of his way to make sure this got rated NC-17.
Mm-hmm.
It just, they knew what they were doing.
It was a ploy.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so that's Blonde sucks ass, Pearl good, Woman King good. Go check those out. We'll be back next week. Jeff will be back as well. I don't know which movie we're going to review then.
Monsters.
These fucking monsters.
Well, let's look at it. I just posted the list of movies that are coming out. Let me see.
What do we got?
I can make a decision.
Have you guys watched that yet?
No, I'm not going to.
Oh, really? Oh, dude, I want to watch.
Oh, fuck. Do we have to see Amsterdam? I've heard it's so bad.
Yeah, I've heard Amsterdam stinks too. We should do that.
I mean, guess we'll do Amsterdam.
Big ass cast.
Does Werewolf by Night drop this week?
Fuck. I just got the screener for that too. I
yes, it was awesome.
We should do we should do Amsterdam and Werewolf by Night.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we'll figure it out for sure later and tweet it, I guess. But yeah, so we'll be back next week. And until then, I guess have a good week to the box office, right?
Yeah.
I felt wrong saying that.
We'll let Trill take care of it. Yeah. We'll cut him in.
I felt wrong saying that. I apologize. We'll let Trill take it from here.